Welcome to CPG Vibes. No script, just chat. We talk all things food and beverage and so much more. Feel our vibe and search for CPG Vibes on Apple Podcast or Spotify, and make sure to give us a 5-star review. If you'd like to sponsor our show with your product or service or be a guest, email us at cpgvibes100@gmail.com. Now your hosts, me, Alex Bear with Genius Juice, and Wade Yeti. All right, welcome to episode 63 of CPG, saying that slowly enough, CPG Vibes. We have a special guest today. But before we even bring this guy on, we have a bunch of crap we want to talk about. It's mostly useless information, but we're going to say it. Wade, how's it going, buddy?
Good, man. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Your mic is incredibly loud. You probably want to turn that down.
I'll just move it away a little bit. How's that? Is that better?
Still super loud.
Wow.
We don't do sound checks here on the show because it's no script, just chat. If there's a little knob in front.
It's only on like a third of the way up. How's that? Is that better?
Maybe just your voice got louder. I don't know.
Well, I have a radio voice. How's that? Is that better?
It's still, yeah. I think it sounds good. I guess we'll let the audience tell us if it's too loud or not, because it doesn't matter what we think, right?
Right.
Maybe my volume is high. I'll turn my volume down.
Maybe that's it. I was gonna say because I feel like it went down a little bit. So
yeah, I guess you tell us if you can hear me and Wade clearly. I know, it doesn't matter what we're saying. All that matters is, can you hear us, right? That's the basis of this whole show.
Exactly.
So what have you been up to, my friend? Tell us more.
Oh, just busy week with better a radio voice than a face for radio. Yes, well, I do have a face for radio. I've admitted that. It's just been a busy week. Been doing a lot of stuff with the house. Renee's family was in town this week. Her sister and her family were in this week, so it's been good.
Awesome. Not a lot of news on our side. I mean, I've been out in the field. Everyone thinks I'm selling Hue because I wear this hat. When I go into like different shops and retailers, they're like, dude, we love Hue. Like, you rock. I'm so glad you work for that company. I'm like, but I don't. But I love their product. I'm a fan of it. But I do have chocolate shots, which kind of relates a little bit. So, so just been out selling out 3 days a week. I'm doing Orange County. I'm doing nearly, down the South Orange County near to San Diego. And then also LA. So I love selling. It's really a lot of fun to get back out there. I've talked about that before.
Right.
And I really got to get a Genius hat because this Hue hat is starting to cause brand confusion when I'm out there. So we're going to do some shout outs before bringing our guest on, and also some laundry list items here. Number 1, 5 stars. Boom. 5. So,
we're up to 80. We're up to 80 as of 2 minutes ago that I checked.
Exactly. We passed your birthday and we're about to pass mine, 1982.
Right.
So, that would be 1,982, but let's call it 82. So yeah, just please give us 5 stars. We got to get to 100. We'll be ranked in the top 3 CPG podcasts, basically in the country, once we break 100.
I will tell you, I was just going to say, I checked when I just went on here, and what's kind of cool, if you're on an Apple podcast, you type in CPG, I see, I'm not going to mention the other ones because that's not us, but we do show in the top listing there. So just type in CPG and boom, there we are. So I'm thinking to your point, if we get a couple more of those, we might be able to push. We might be able to push to the top of that list.
Top of the heap. I mean, how smart was moving to CPG vibes? You know, we love Friday vibes, but
Brilliant,
freaking genius. Now we have the freedom to do it on any day. We actually have the freedom to do it multiple times per week if we want. One on Friday, one on Sunday night at 11 p.m. Perfect. Everyone's going to be logging on at that time, right?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, you look very concerned.
All right. As long as we're talking 11 o'clock my time, that's the only way it's going to happen. Well, I don't know. I'm up at 2 o'clock sometimes. So
yeah. So that could work. You know, for the restless, it's the restless vibes show. You know, everyone who's up worrying about their business.
Insomniac vibes.
Yeah, I mean, all the entrepreneurs are definitely up in the middle of the night, right? So it makes a lot of sense because no one can sleep right now with all the difficulties. All right, so laundry list items, and let's get to our guest because he's patiently waiting. I want to bring this guy on. So we have the 5 stars. If you would like to be a guest or sponsor the show with product, there is a cost to do that now, but we have introductory prices. If you do it for the first time, we give you 30-40% off. Make sure to email cpgvibes100, the number 100 at gmail.com. We will respond to you in a timely manner within 480 hours. We'll get back to you or less. And we love to consider bringing your product on as a sponsor and also having you as a guest. Some comments. I just don't make sure we don't fall behind here. There's my mouse. Got to get a new mouse. That's why we need money. I need a new mouse. So again, I really don't want to delay this too much further, but some quick comments here. Hank Watt, Nature's Wild Bear, hey everyone, Dillon, Wade, God Voice, and Alex. So it wasn't just me.
I'm pretty sure it was intentionally God, not good. I'm pretty sure.
There's like last week it was Godo. Remember Godo Friday? Someone else misspelled good, and now again, God is making.
I think it was intentional. I don't think it was a mistake. Hank knows.
Hank's pretty damn smart. Yeah, actually, you're right. It's too coincidental. Jeannie Gregory sounds good to me. Jason Raymond Werner, right? I think that's the proper way to pronounce it. Better a radio voice than a face for radio. Monica Watras sounds good. Gavin Conkle, I'm working out, but Wade is shouting in my ears. It's great. Gavin, welcome.
I was going to say he's going to set new PRs lifting.
Yeah, just don't get too big, Gavin. You're already barely able to, your shirts are barely able to hold your muscles. So be careful, okay? What else? Andrew Friedman, volume is good. Fatima Tarabi, which means you need a genius hat. A couple more. Tyson McMurrin, this is starting to be the best part of my Friday. Thank you so much. Welcome to our show. Some LinkedIn users. Yahoo, happy Friday all. Wade, you have to back me up on who that is. Sarah Stender Delaney, wow, you're so young. Well done. 82 in the house. Gavin Conkle, emergency CPG vibes pod. That's funny. We missed you last week, man. Welcome back. There's gonna be a penalty though for you missing one episode. So, and we'll figure what that is. David Delcourt, hey everyone. I already left 5 stars, but I'll throw it in the team Slack chain too. Thank you. Couple more. Michael Bendos, happy hour show. And Hank Watt again, full intent. Yep, he's too smart to not do that accidentally.
There you go.
All right. So our guest here, and I'm going to put in some music that probably doesn't fit who he is at all, but I'm going to put it in anyway. Let me try this one. What's this one sound like? That's pretty good. I like that one. All right. So we have the co-founder, CEO of Chubby Snacks, Dillon Ceglio. Thank you for waiting and being patient with us. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great. How are you guys doing?
So good, Dillon.
All right. Music fits you. Kind of works.
Yeah, it's not bad.
It fits the poster in the background.
Yeah. Now we'd have to throw on some Jimi Hendrix. I guess it's this way for that intro.
Yeah. All right. So a lot of people already know you through LinkedIn or through your product. We're just going to start with we always do this. The story, abbreviated version, your product, for those that don't know what it is. I mean, it's a delicious PB&J snack, very unique. And then there's also a Forbes article I want to get into that I Googled right before, because we don't prepare for shit on the show.
No.
You come on, I'm like trying to get all articles up of information 3 minutes before. And this is not how I built this. This is called
I like to wing it as well. So I hear you.
Yeah. So let's go into your story and who you are, where you're from, and your product.
Totally. Yeah. So I guess I'll start where I'm from. I grew up in Jersey, right outside Jersey City, Bayonne, New Jersey. It's a small town, about like 3 miles outside New York City. It actually has like a big part of like, I guess, where I'm at today. I grew up in a pretty healthy household. My mom was a personal trainer, spin instructor as a kid. Right from the get-go, it was like very random for us to have like unhealthy snacks in the house. My friends actually used to joke that I was like the worst house out of all of our friend groups because we had just all the healthy snacks. I don't even think we had a microwave until I was like probably like 15 or 16. So like as a kid, this kind of goes into like why I started Chubby Snacks in a sense is I used to find every which way to get Uncrustables as a kid. Luckily for me, my elementary school actually gave them out for free. So I was pretty much eating them up all the time. So growing up outside New York City was pretty cool, obviously. Just being the fact that it's a big city gave me the opportunity to really expand my horizons and learn a lot about like the street smarts of things. And I kind of like to talk about this in a sense because like I think it's really important for my story is the fact that, as a kid, I didn't really know what an entrepreneur was or what entrepreneurship was. The community I grew up in was mostly blue collar. So were my parents for the most part. And it wasn't until I got into college, which was out here in Los Angeles at USC, did I start kind of really understanding like what entrepreneurs really were and what entrepreneurship really entailed. I had friends that were selling T-shirts out of the back of their car, beanies from their backpacks, and I actually had some friends that were making beats and selling them to artists, which was pretty cool. And at that point, it was like, I kind of had like these like unique skills of just like understanding like how to like move about the streets and, kind of had this like street logic from what I quote unquote would say. And I wanted to apply that to business. And so thank you, Michael. I just started like playing around with some different ideas. And I won't bore you guys with just like my first projects or whatnot, but what it did was provided that kind of foundation for me to like feel comfortable in an uncomfortable situation of going out and actually trying something that I had no experience in. And so, my career post college was pretty traditional. I got into, I was working in finance for a little bit, absolutely hated it. Ended up working in tech sales. Didn't really like that either. And a company I was working for actually went under, which gave me the ability to kind of take a step back and look at my life and kind of make a decision on like what I wanted to do next. And I always wanted to get into digital marketing and kind of brand building in a sense. And so I started off just like teaching myself how to do like, the most basic like social media marketing, plug and play websites, things like that. Tapped on a bunch of friends to kind of help me like learn the ways and kind of cut corners, I guess, if you will. And from there, kind of started building out this business of a digital marketing agency where I was mostly focused on like CPG and e-commerce brands. Granted, I was touching all different types of industries, but that was like the focus that I wanted to get into. And luckily for me, I had like some opportunities to travel abroad. And I did a couple different solo backpack trips. And what was cool about that and unique about it is the fact that, everywhere you went, being by yourself, every conversation you had was like, who are you? Where are you from? What do you do? I'm Dillon Ceglio. I'm from Los Angeles and I'm a digital marketer, quote unquote. And what ended up happening was I walked away from both of these trips, one to Europe and one to Southeast Asia with a handful of clients. And so when I got back to Los Angeles, both of these trips, I just continued to build out like this book of business, I guess, if you will. So long story short, I did that for like 3-4 years, really built out my niche within like performance marketing. And from there, it just like, doing my job, I just kind of keep my ear to the ground, always looking for like the next best thing or the next best skills. I just started noticing all these brands were popping up that were recreating traditional products with, better for you ingredients and elevated nutritionals. And it just had me thinking like, is this a trend or is this like an evolution of a consumer? And obviously I leaned towards the second, which was this evolution of the consumer. And again, this like kind of goes back to like my childhood where my mom was always buying like organic chicken and, all the, like the cleaner label, snacks and products. And so I just kind of went to the drawing board, started thinking of all the different products I like to eat as a kid, and where I saw opportunity for disruption. And obviously I landed on the Uncrustable, and for good reason, right? Like Smucker's been around for 100+ years. They have insane distribution. They're Yeah, they're a very impressive company. But at the end of the day, where I saw the opportunity was this white space within the natural food section, as well as direct to consumer. Again, building out my digital marketing business, I got really good at being able to sell products online directly to consumers. So I figured that was a good place to start. Build the brand there, leverage that platform, and then open up those opportunities to sell into the natural foods stores. Because Uncrustables ingredients, it's impermissible for them to sell into any natural food store. So it's anywhere from like 4,000 to 5,000 stores across the country where it's actually not able to sell. So I figured that was a good spot to start. And then from there, obviously, just like build out more and more of our sales channels, which we're kind of doing at this point.
Got a question for you, and thanks for recapping everything. Super eloquent, right? You went through your history, where you worked, how you created Chubby Snacks now. Are you seeing now, it's funny how this all works, like this industry, where these big companies make a product which is not entirely healthy, and they do it for a very long time. And the only time they feel impassioned or emboldened to go into a healthier version of their product is when a competitor comes out that's a natural product that's emerging, that creates something that tastes freaking delicious, that's way healthier and better macros, right?
Yep.
So now that you have done this, are you seeing like Smucker and other companies like, okay, now we're going to make ours cleaner and more organic because there's a competitor now? Like, have you seen any of that happening?
Yeah. I mean, definitely. Case in point, last year we did our first Expo West. We were the only peanut butter and jelly sandwich company there. Fast forward 1 year to this past Expo West, and there's 4 peanut butter and jelly companies there, or products, right? Like some of them are spinoffs from other brands, but
best form of flattery, right?
yeah, I mean, like at the end of the day, like it's competition, but it's also credibility, right? So at the end of the day, like if we continue to build a brand and provide a really good product, it doesn't matter what company comes out with a PB&J, like there's a good chance that they're going to remember Chubby Snacks over that other, brand or product. So we're really just focusing on ourselves, and like, obviously we're paying attention to what's going on in the market. There's no doubt, but at the end of the day, like I can't control that. So all I can really focus on is what I can control. But when it comes to Smuckers, I think it's actually really interesting because I know for a fact we get brought up in their meetings. I can't talk too much about it, but like, I know things. I think I connect myself with the right people, and that really obviously helps. But you could just see it based off of their actions too. I mean, last year they came out and invested whatever millions of dollars into an R&D facility to help like build the brand out. Right. They also did $520 million in sales last year on this, this traditional PB&J that they've, built their brand around. Mm-hmm. So you think about like the opportunities for R&D and creating something that might be able to compete with us, but then you also think about what that would do to their main product that's doing incredibly well and growing, double-digit growth year over year. Do they really want to undercut themselves? Maybe. I would think probably not, but at the end of the day, like we are obviously making some noise, enough noise to be talked about, enough noise to be making decisions based off of. I mean, just today, case in point, again, I saw that Smucker's filed a patent for a heart-shaped sandwich. And I find that incredibly interesting. Like, it doesn't upset me. I think it's actually really cool from our perspective because, they've been in business for the Uncrustables been around for 20, 25 years at this point.
Mm-hmm.
They've never filed a patent for any other shape. We file a patent for a cloud-shaped sandwich, and then, months later they file a patent for a heart.
Can you file for one that's shaped like a middle finger?
Probably actually. No, but like, I don't know. It's very cool to see because, we're a very small company still, and I can't get it. I could go into like, just like our growth in terms of just like from a manufacturing perspective, but they are a dynamite manufacturer. Like most people don't even know this, but they have the largest commercial bakery in the entire country. Like if you go into their facility, which you probably won't be able to, and I sure as hell won't be able to, but they have like one of the most efficient systems in place, which allows them to be able to produce, millions and millions and millions of sandwiches a day, which is, commendable for sure. But I just think what we're doing is different. We're not really targeting them in a sense in terms of competition. We're looking to bring like incremental revenue into our set because we think that this PB&J space actually has a lot more opportunity for growth. And what we're doing is just bringing in net new customers. And we're proving that by being in Whole Foods and Central Market and all these other natural grocery stores where, we have good velocities at, really good velocities at in some of them. And so, yeah, do I think we can like compete against them and steal market share for them? For sure. But at the end of the day, like we're just trying to move this category forward. We're not necessarily just trying to compete with them, which I hope, they see that in a sense too. Not that I really care, but like they should also know that we're not just like trying to steal their customers at the end of the day.
I've got like a zillion questions, Dylan. I'm trying to think where to start. I want to get into a little bit about your team, your co-founders, and then I also want to talk a little bit about your introduction into retail because obviously there's some history there with you and I, and it's funny because I didn't used to do this, but I'm kind of I've kind of not been very good about cleaning up my LinkedIn messages and my text messages, so I've kind of got this library history that kind of shows me where I've been and what I've done. And I guess I'll start with that. So I look back and I'm like, oh, Dillon, we, blah, blah, blah. I know, we talked on the West Coast and I made a post about it a little bit, but I don't remember. I saw, and this is going back, my goodness, mid 2021, I think. I'm guessing. I could probably find out here. But there was a post or you won an award or something like that, and I liked it. And you reached out to me, and I was like, hey, I was hoping that I'd get your attention because I want to talk and see what we can do. Yeah, I'm looking here. It was September of 2021, and so talk a little bit, not necessarily about me per se, but just about your intro, how you went from idea to product to retail. Kind of the steps. Like, how did you get from hey, I want to do this healthy PB&J to having a box in retail?
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, I know I thank you time and time again at this point, but I do really appreciate you taking a risk on me when it came to Jimbo's. That was our second grocer, essentially might have been our first at that point because we had just launched into Whole Foods at the same time. So obviously really appreciate that. I know you know that, but yeah, so I came up with the idea, I think it was like August of 2019. Again, I was just doing my research because I saw this as an opportunity in terms of like just getting into the CPG space. And luckily for me, my brother is a nutritionist. And so I kind of tapped on him to help me recreate a better jam. Where I saw the biggest differentiation opportunity was jam. Bread is, you could get a really good whole wheat bread. You could also get, clean label nut butters across the market too. But where I saw the biggest opportunity was with recreating the jam recipe. And so ultimately I leaned on him. I said, I just want a very clean, fruit forward, minimal ingredient jam recipe. And I ultimately just slapped that together with, clean nut butters. And I think I was actually using Dave's Killer Bread at that time as just like a testing opportunity. I put it into like some makeshift packaging, and I live in Los Angeles. So I bounced around into like some different neighborhoods and with essentially a push cart with some ice in it to different soccer camps and baseball camps, and just started handing out sandwiches to kids and parents. And the proof was immediately in the pudding. Like everybody knows what a peanut butter and jelly sandwich is. Everybody more or less has had one before. And thankfully, because of the Uncrustables, people understand the convenience part of PB&Js too. So it was a no-brainer once I started, walking around and getting these like really quick feedback. And so I tapped on my business partner, Brett, or one of my business partners, Brett, who was helping me build a digital marketing company. And I was like, hey man, like, I think we have something here. I was like, we could either continue doing digital marketing or we can flip the script and just try to create the next PB&J empire. And, I could go into a lot about my business partners, but the one thing I will say is they have the utmost trust and belief in me. And Brett was immediately on board. And so that kind of jump-started everything. That was January of 2020. So obviously right before the pandemic. I think I just filed for like the LLC and just started going through like kind of the business back-end foundation type stuff. And the expectation was to launch in like May, June of that year. And so, we started building out the product some more. And then about a month before we launched, we opened up a commercial kitchen downtown Los Angeles. And so to give you kind of a little bit of background in terms of like manufacturing, there's really no manufacturers out there that create crustless peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. There's just not like a, one size fits all kind of solution that just allows you to just, call a manufacturer up and be like, hey, I want 50,000 crustless PB&Js, make it happen. I got laughed out of every one of those doors, as you can imagine. And so we were just like, all right, let's just do this ourselves. And like, let's just bootstrap it. And so we opened up this kitchen in downtown LA, started making them ourselves, hired a couple of people, launched the thing. And then within like 20 days, we got hit with the cease and desist from Smucker's for having the circle shaped sandwich.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I did my research. They had a patent on like the construction of the sandwich or something, which they lost because there was like some mom and pop like pot pie company in the Midwest that like challenged them and ultimately won. But what I didn't know is that they had a a patent design on the circle shape. And so they hit me with that, as well as like a litany of other things like slander, falsifying advertising, you pretty much name it. They wanted everything. They wanted me to shut down everything. And so obviously, like, I put all my money into this at this point. So I'm losing my mind thinking like, oh my God, I just like ruined my life essentially. But after the dust settled, like I quickly realized it was a good thing.
One thing just to add to is, because I have a life coach now, that usually what we think is going to happen or what the worst case, like when something you're like, this is what could happen, that rarely actually happens,
Totally.
Maybe like 5% of the time that it's going to be this bad, and then it's much better than what you expected. And I think like I could picture, because I've been there, right? Like putting a lot of your money in, and then like really your entire life is really riding on the success of your brand and your product, and then getting like a letter, like one letter changes everything. It sounds like a movie. Like one letter crushes you, and you're like, holy shit, like this is over. But then
100%.
Of course, like you said, as you work through it, went through the motions, did the research, it really wasn't as bad as you initially expected.
No, and again, it was arguably one of the best things that ever happened to us, because it gave us the opportunity to differentiate ourselves, and it gave us a chance to like kind of take a step back, look at the business from like a maybe like a 10,000 foot view, and just think like, all right, how can we make this better at this point? Really, at the end of the day, all I needed to do was change the shape. So if we changed the shape, we were pretty much out of their grip, I guess, if you will. It just so happened though that I like opened my apartment door and I had this big FedEx envelope sitting on my doorstep, and it's the cease and desist. And I had walked out of my apartment to go to my first investor meeting because I didn't, I was super naive.
That's a confidence booster right there.
Yeah, tell me about it. It was brutal. No, but like, like I said, I put all my money into this, which wasn't a lot. I was able to convince my dad and my stepdad to like essentially match what I put in. But I was super naive. I didn't know anything about CPG. So I got into this thinking that like, $50,000, $100,000 was going to at least like get me somewhere. And obviously it doesn't. But I think like that naivety, if that's the right way to pronounce it, was actually like one of the best things that ever happened to me, because had I known what I know now, obviously I would never have done this. I would have been too scared. I probably would have just like, calculated the risks and been like, this isn't worth the squeeze. But because I didn't know anything, Brett and I just, jumped into the deepest, darkest part of the pool. And we were just like, all right, we're just going to tread water as long as we possibly can until we figure this thing out. And that's what we're doing still to this day. I mean, we're 2.5 years, almost 3 years into this thing. And, we're still treading water. And I think that's one of the most relatable things to any CPG founder. I'm sure, Alex, you could, resonate with that. But anyway, so so after all that happened with Smucker, we reformatted our product, obviously launched the cloud, and that was amazing. Like we launched that direct to consumer, and our first year doing all direct to consumer was very impressive from our perspective. We grew the company pretty quickly, and I mean we probably had about like 25 people in our commercial kitchen just punching out these sandwiches like you or I would in our own kitchens making sandwiches. Like it was very, very gritty of like a situation. But what that also allowed us to do was be able to look at the process and continue to tinker with it and figure out ways where we could optimize the process. That way we could get the most output for our input. And so like we laugh and joke and say that we're the Einsteins of PB&J manufacturing, but we fucking, I'm sorry, I don't know if I could curse, but I'm saying
I've done it I've done it many times. We haven't gotten a letter from the FCC yet, so go F word away. F bomb.
All right. Yeah, well, because we are the fucking Einsteins of PB&J manufacturing. We tried 100 times, like figuring out how to do this. And what's kind of crazy is my dad came out to visit me because I had back surgery, and he was in the kitchen helping us like move some things around. And he was like, why don't you just do it this way? And I was just like, you know what? That's actually not a bad idea. And so we adopted my dad's idea, put it into work, and it ended up like 3xing, 4xing our production overnight. I then took that concept, I put it into a PowerPoint, and I went to those same manufacturers that told us no. And they, not all of them, but like a majority of them were like, hey, we're intrigued, like come check out our facility. I even had manufacturers flying to my facility to check out our process, which was, scary. And we don't have to go down that because obviously like trade secret purposes, but we had to do what we had to do, because if we didn't get to that next step, there was no business. And so it's always been building blocks from like a manufacturing perspective. So like our whole like story has been about diligence and like being smart about our decision making in terms of like what opportunities to take, what not to take, because we've always been throttled with this like production issue. Mm-hmm. And I'll eventually go into like where we're at now and like where we'll be in like just the next few months in terms of that. But that's been a huge part of our story. But not to kind of get sidetracked on that yet. Wade, to kind of answer your initial question, we use that direct consumer business after we launched the cloud to really build up the brand and create that leverage to open up the opportunities to get into retail. And so I brought on investors at that point, and I had one of our investors who's David Greenfield from Dream Pops. And part of our agreement, if you will, was to like help us get into retail. And so he had a relationship with Whole Foods. And so he made the introduction to Whole Foods. And thankfully, Alex Hickey, if she ever hears this, she knows how grateful I am for taking a risk on us as well. And she gave us a chance to launch into the SoPac region. And so end of 2021, we got about like 35 doors for Whole Foods. Mm-hmm. And we pretty much started 2022 with like 30, 40 doors because of Jimbo's. And we ended the year in about 550 doors. Now we're in about 1,100.
Awesome.
So about like a year and a half, we've
a big growth there. I got some questions for you because there's a lot to cover here. We're gonna.
Sorry if I'm speaking too fast, too. By the way,
not at all. I mean, you're condensing so much great stuff into this episode that it's like you've been on 3 episodes. So, so it's all good, man. People love to listen and learn from your experience that you're going through, because a lot of us are in the same boat and we're all in this together as a community. So just to reset the room, this is episode 63 of CPG Vibes. Special guest, Dillon Ceglio. I was pronouncing it Ceglio, and so we hopped on here. Again, no preparation. He is Dillon Ceglio of Chubby Snacks. You can find his website, which is chubbysnacks.co. And then just some comments we want to read out and shout out here because we're a little bit behind. We got Tom Malengo and Susan Bryanton. Tom's going to be a guest on our show later in the year. We'll get the date on that, but he's going to be popping on our show with Brandjectory. Sean Berg, who has 150,000 followers, which is insane. He's posted every day. He pulled a Mark Samuel, posting every day for a year and a half. And anyway, awesome guy. He's a broker. Gavin Conkle, she's the best. Talking about someone. I missed that part.
One of my category managers.
One of your category. Okay, got it. So Michael Bendo, cease and desist, and then follow the trend you create. I think they have a crush on you. Alan Cutler, how's it going? Inside joke, patent and trademark research. Alan and I were messaging back and forth. After you F-bombed, Jason Raymond Werner said Mother Smuckers. Well done.
I like what you did there.
Well done. Well played. Monica Watras. Hi, Daniel Scharf. And then we got Daniel with Startup, CPG, and also the CEO of Machu Picchu Energy Drink. Love seeing you at Expo. Thank you for letting us use your booth for our Friday Vibes happy hour, which is now CPG Vibes. And he is saying, Monica Watras, hi, friend. Had to try it after I heard about it with you so many times. So that's Dan. Good seeing you, my friend. Michael Bendos again. Talk that shit, my dude. You got to have that attitude. Hopefully, Dad got a bonus. I mean, I
got some shares.
Mr. Wonderful. You get some shares, get some royalties. Every sandwich that's stamped out. So I wanted to ask you, because I'm in LA. You're in LA. I'm a Lebowski. You're a Lebowski. Inside joke on that movie. What part of LA are you in? And then first question. And then second question is your manufacturing. It was in downtown LA. Is it still in downtown LA? Are you still doing your own manufacturing, or have you gone to a co-packer? Like, tell us more about those two things.
Yep. So I'm in Marina Del Rey, so on the west side.
Right on. Redondo Beach. So I'm literally 40 minutes. You must be going to Rainbow Acres quite a bit.
I do, yeah. I mean, I
Shout
love
out.
living in Los Angeles, but if I'm going to
I
be
have
here,
to
I'm
ask.
staying on the west side.
I have to ask about Marina Del Rey, just because.
Go for it.
Stone Cold Steve Austin lives there.
Does he really?
Have you ever ran in? No, well, obviously you haven't ran into him. So he, when he was doing his podcast all the time, he talked about going to what's the brewery near the El Segundo?
Yep.
That's the brewery that does Broken Skull IPA. But he talks about he has a place there. He also has a place, I want to say, in Nevada, like a ranch. But his primary residence is in Marina Del Rey. So yeah,
I'll keep my eye out. That's
you
pretty
should.
cool.
You
He's a
should.
hard guy to miss. I mean,
Yes.
he's
Yeah,
doing,
I know. I'm actually kind of upset that I haven't seen him before.
I could just see him. Yeah, I could see him like in line at like the Ralphs, right? The Ralphs
Yep.
and Marina Del Rey, like, and he's in line and the cashier is taking forever. And he's like, man, this is taking too long. Stone Cold doesn't want to wait this long for his IPA. And then he goes to the back to their cashier and then does the Stone Cold Stunner on.
Right? Come on.
Cracks open 2 beers.
Yeah, and then cracks open 2 beers. Yeah.
No, smashes 2 chubbies against each other. Right?
I mean, that would be great.
Yeah.
I would love to get that on camera.
That would be the ultimate influencer. It's like the Stone Cold Chubby,
Hey, if there's a will,
All right,
there's a way.
you got to finish if you're still manufacturing. Marina Del Rey just caught
That was
me.
that was the best segue ever Wade,
Yes.
on the show in history. I gotta commend you for that.
Nah, so I mean, we started in Los Angeles, obviously, because we were here. It's the easiest thing for us to be able to do, and that was like an epic situation. Before I like talk about where we're co-packing now, but we launched in like if you're familiar with like a WeWork kind of parceled out offices, it's the same kind of concept for the kitchen space, just kind of growth kitchen. And so there's like all these different businesses in there, and I jumped in there during the middle of COVID. And so all these businesses were booming. And so it was just incredibly hectic in there. There was like no space. Everybody's on top of each other. Obviously the COVID situation's going on. And like, brands are stealing other brands' employees. I mean, the amount of fights that I almost got in down there was absolutely insane. Telling kitchen managers from other businesses to like, get the fuck away from my kitchen. Like, you're not taking any of my employees. Like it got bad like at times, but it was a very cool experience too. Just because
that's where he gets Stone Cold as your bouncer.
Yeah. I mean, we were in the mix of it, it was just like every day was just like, one thing after the next. And, like I said, it was just like treading water. Anyway, I digress. So we essentially went from this commercial kitchen to what we call a cowboy co-man. So it's like kind of like outsourcing what we're doing in LA to like somewhere, in the middle of the country ultimately. What was crazy with that is that it took me like 3 months to get like all the paperwork in order, all of like our materials out there, the process set up in order to launch. I fly out there. This was in Denver. First day of production, I'm super excited. We just like graduated into like our first co-man. I walk into the office and the guy's like, "Oh, you got to come sit down." I'm like, "All right, cool. What's going on?" He's like, "I got some bad news." I'm like, "All right, what's up?" He's like, "We're going out of business. You have to get all your shit out of here by Friday." I'm like, "I'm sorry, what?" I'm like, "Dude, you told me like you knew we were coming in here for 3 months and you tell me on the day of our first production run that we're going out of business?" I was like, the writing had to have been on the wall. Like, what were we waiting for? And so, I'm in this office with a 40-year-old man and a 50-year-old man, just like motherfuckering them the entire time, cursing them out, telling them like, "Yo, like you guys like essentially set me up. Like my business could go under right now because of this mess up on your end." And so it was like a crazy day. Like we actually got like won a couple different retailers that day too. We had Whole Foods place their second PO that day. So it was like this weird like roller coaster ride of emotion where like one part of it should have been awesome and the other part of it was just absolutely terrible. So I essentially packed all my things up. I put them on a pallet. We shipped everything to this other co-man that we were talking to in another part of the middle of the country.
Mm-hmm.
And I just shipped it there as like a Hail Mary, hoping that they would say yes. And so over the course of like the next few days, we convinced them to bring us on. And they're like, "When could you get your stuff there?" And I was like in an hour. And so because I had all this stuff just sitting outside of the city limits. So we ended up moving into that manufacturer, which was where we're at now. And then they kind of helped us optimize our process a little bit more, which obviously opened up more operations capacity, which is kind of where we're at now. And then most recently, this past year, actually, it was pretty much like an 18-month process of my business partners and I trying to figure out how we're going to ultimately automate our process and turn this into like a legitimate business. And so we went to different types of machine trade shows. We talked to all different types of engineers. And we essentially put together like a behemoth of a machine. It's 3 different parts essentially married all together into one. We dropped a pretty penny on it, but we made the investment into the machine, and it's in production right now, and it'll be delivered this summer. But at the end of the day, that's the light at the end of the tunnel that we've been working on for the last 2.5 years. It legitimizes us as a business in a sense, because if we didn't have this opportunity with automation, there'd be no business. It's just way too expensive to make these sandwiches by hand. Even if we automate or optimize the process from like a semi-automatic perspective.
Right.
So we're pretty much like capped out at like our capacity right now. Like we still have opportunity to launch into new retailers, but we're trying to be diligent about that just because of the cost of manufacturing right now for us as we continue to grow. But we'll be able to like 20x our production overnight.
Nice.
So we're
so this equipment is going to go into a co-packer. Like they're going to put it in their space. You're going to use that machine, and then like whose idea was it to Frankenstein this machine together? Was it the co-founders? Was it an engineer that you hired? Like who came up with this idea for this?
It's all us, which is kind of crazy because we have no engineering background at all.
That's what I was saying. I'm like, interesting.
Yeah, I mean, so I'll give you a little bit of insights on it. It's 3 machines. There's like one component that works with bread, one component that works with depositing, and the other one that works with crimp and cut.
Yep.
And so we just essentially married all those things together. We were able to convince one of the machine builders to project manage the project. And so they're managing the entire build. All 3 components will go to their facility. They'll put everything together, do all the QA on it, and then we'll ship it to our manufacturer.
It reminds me of Justin's peanut butter. There's like this YouTube. I really encourage anyone just to Google, not to steal thunder here, but I think it's different enough. To go on YouTube, search Justin's peanut butter story. And it's an interview. It's like this whole biopic thing, this interview from like 2013, like when he was starting to really get going and get in Whole Foods and start getting into mainstream. So he's kind of an engineer, like has that kind of mind, like the nuts and bolts mind. And he couldn't find a co-packer to bring in, as we know, Justin's peanut butter has, or, their claim to fame is they have almond butter, peanut butter with honey, right? Mm-hmm. They have the sweetener and the almond butter, which again reminds me of yours because it's a nut butter with the jam, right, going together. Yep. And you couldn't find a co-packer to do that, at least not in the beginning. And he had to build his own equipment where there was one long thing bringing in the nut butter, another long thing bringing in the honey or the vanilla or whatever the sweetener was, and it would mix together and it's custom made. And he was like explaining it, like, I built this and I shimmied this over and I welded this steel together, and like it's just crazy. But when I look at these things, it's like entrepreneurs short term get punished for being different, but then long term they get rewarded. Like that's the way I'm looking at it. Like you could have gone into something that could have been done in a co-packer, but it just would have been another product, hundreds of them, right? That are a snack, let's say a chip or something like that. But like, you basically decided to be unique and said, I'm going to do this differently. It's a royal pain in the ass. You probably had no idea how much you were in, like how much trouble you were in for when you started it. But then once you did it and you started seeing success, and now you're going to scale it and automate it, I think you're going to start seeing the fruits of your labor. That's cool.
100%. Yeah. I mean, it's a game of patience ultimately. And at the end of the day, our product and the process around our product is the moat around the business, right? Like not to say like, other businesses are going to come in and compete like they are obviously already are, but we have a unique advantage when it comes to, just the trade secrets that we're, kind of implementing around our machine and our process, which I think will help us in the long run. Not only that, but it'll, our margins skyrocket right off the bat pretty much. And then the best part about it is that, right now our product's pretty costly for a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. But
what's what's the retail on it right now?
It's $9.99 for four individually wrapped sandwiches. So $2.50. It's equivalent to like your typical protein bar, right? Yeah. But nobody really looks at it like that. They're just like, oh, it's a PB&J. Like I'm not spending that much money. I shouldn't actually say that because our customers, buy us a lot. So like people are obviously, there's an appetite for it. There's nonetheless, but the goal really is to like, we want to be able to bridge the gap a bit between us and Uncrustables. Like right now, we probably sit at like a 2x multiple of what they cost. Or we think what like the Goldilocks zone is like what between like 1.2, 1.4% times, the amount of what their cost is.
There's a question here. And also I want to turn this to Wade as well, because
Yeah,
I always ask
I was
you.
gonna say I've got a few questions.
Yeah, go
and
ahead.
it kind of probably segues a little bit into what Gavin posted here. And Dylan, you know Gavin, right? From
We're actually connected on LinkedIn, but I don't think we ever actually met.
Yeah, he used to be with Earth Fair. Now he's in in the sales game. So Gavin's a good friend. I wanted to ask you a little bit about, obviously in the beginning, and when I talked to you in California, it was kind of a three-headed monster, right? As far as you and your co-founders, and you mentioned growing from 30, 40 doors to the end of that year being in, I would you say 3, 4, whatever it is, and now you're over 1,000.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask a little bit about how you the sales team, and how you went from being obviously boots on the ground, you doing it or your co-founders doing it, to how did you get to that next level? Are you using brokers? Did you hire a sales team internally? Are you outsourcing it? How does your sales team look, or how did it evolve over time as you grew?
Yeah, great question. To be completely frank, we're a really small team. There's only 4 of us full time. John and I pretty much manage all the sales. John spearheads it. I'm really lucky. I think like in CPG, it's really important to have people you can rely on, especially co-founders. And so when I approached John and Brett about the opportunity, they were obviously both all in on it, or well, eventually all in on it. But I can't do this without them. There's no way around that. Like I am not a numbers guy. John lives in Excel. He loves that stuff. He's an amazing salesperson. Brett took he didn't have operation experience before this, and he absolutely crushes operations for us. He manages all the relationships with our vendors, our manufacturers, our suppliers, and John is kind of like the liaison to help him with that. But outside of that, we knowing that we have to do a lot with a little. We brought on different types of consultants and extensions of our teams through sales, as well as like merchandisers and demoers and things like that at different times. And we really just like pull levers when we think we need to pull them. Opposed to like hiring a headcount. We are really good at complementing each other's skills, and I think that really goes a long way for us in terms of being able to get the most bandwidth out of one another. We're gonna go raise later this year, or actually pretty soon, and the goal is to start bringing on headcount to like really support sales and ops. But we really didn't have much of a choice. Like we needed to do this between the 3 of us. Which really was great because it just allowed us to really dive deep into the business and understand the business, and understand what we really needed to do in order to be able to continue to move the business forward. But we're getting to a point where bandwidth is becoming pretty crucial for us. So
cool. I think it's and we talk about this now more than ever as far as the CPG world and how important it is to be profitable, and fractional sales, fractional operations, fractional merchandise, whatever you need to do. I think it's pretty honorable and respectable to see that you've grown the way you have with such a limited team. And I think it's probably a good takeaway for emerging brands and people just kind of getting started to say, you don't necessarily need to have this huge team. You just need to work hard, put some blood, sweat, and tears, and maybe more tears than the other 2, but into it. And then when you need to your point, add on a little bit of demo help or merchandising help or sales help, you can do that without, writing a 6-figure paycheck to somebody, right? I mean, you can do that and save yourself a lot of money and still be a positive experience.
100%. Yeah. I mean, like, I think everybody's situation is different. Every business is obviously different, but most of our costs come from manufacturing at this point. And so until that changes, which will be this summer, we really needed to stay scrappy. And I think that's just part of our skill set for who we are. Like, I don't want to say like it's because we grew up like right outside New York City, but that definitely had a big part of it. I mean, we are scrappy individuals, and a lot of it just comes from like our surroundings as kids. And we take that in stride, and we really use that to our advantage. And again, like I couldn't do this without them. I mean, John and Brett, they run the show. I just help them wherever I can. And I do, things like this where I can, help promote the brand from a different type of way, but they're running the show on a day-to-day basis. And I couldn't be more proud. And, it just kind of proves based off of the work that they're doing that we're showing success while still being a small team.
Yeah. I think, I mean, the same thing, there's brands that they're doing 15, 20 million in sales. And then you like pull back the curtain on who's actually running the show, and there's like 4 people, running the entire show. It's insane how much you can get done. And one thing that to be careful of, I'm all in support of, hiring salespeople, hiring merchandisers, but I feel, because I like to give, my uncensored advice on the show for CPG founders and owners, don't overhire salespeople and merchandisers. They cost a lot of money. Number one, they're going to have expenses, car, meal, maybe commission. It's always good to have salespeople, but like, do you really need a territory sales manager, in Nebraska? Like, do you have enough business there to hire someone in that area? The only place it's really worth hiring a salesperson is where the amount of sales that they're creating pays for their paycheck.
Absolutely.
And then some.
Yep.
And also in the accounts where it makes sense. If you're in a new account that's 20 stores in Pennsylvania, is it really worth hiring someone in Pennsylvania? Probably not, unless there's huge growth potential. So at Genius Juice, the only places we have retained salespeople are West Coast, East Coast, because we do 60, 70% of our business from the two coasts. We used to have someone in Seattle, but the sales up in Seattle didn't justify hiring someone up there. So that's a really important point when conserving capital, especially, managing your budget. I wanted to reset the room because there's a couple questions for you, Dillon. There's a couple comments, and then we've got to get to our next segment as well. This is CPG Vibes. And again, pay attention too, because there is going to be a giveaway of Chubby snacks. You're going to be able to get one delivered. Is it not from the new machinery yet, right? Because that's summer, but it's still going to be damn good. So yeah, and it's more artisanally made, right? At least so that's the benefit of that. Someone was holding the sandwich and putting it in the bag. No, so resetting the room, CPG Vibes, episode 63, special guest Dillon Ceglio of Chubby Snacks. There's going to be a giveaway of Chubby Snacks, so hopefully you're paying attention and you can win the prize. So
got to make sure we get Dillon to answer this one, because Mark inquiry minds want to know.
Can you ask Dillon how many days a week he's curling a barbell? This is Mark Samuel from I Want Organics, who's the most ripped CPG founder, I think, on LinkedIn. Maybe you guys can compete. You can compete. So he saw you at Expo, and he's curious. Didn't look like that Dillon skipped arm days that much at Expo.
Mark's not going to like this answer, but I never do arms.
Wow.
Never do arms.
Maybe he's born with it,
Yeah, I think I walked out of the womb with a 6-pack. So don't get me wrong. I work really hard, and I'm very consistent, but I've also been gifted with some good genetics too. So I can't deny that.
Nice. You probably have some Nordic in you or something, that Viking, like buff.
Did my red hair give that away a little bit? Or
little bit.
Or my pale skin.
You got a little bit of California sunshine going on.
I'm actually more Italian than I am Irish. So I do actually get pretty tan during the summer, but it's a lot of it's like freckle tan too. So it's like kind of barely counts.
I know before we do completely go to the next segment, I did want to follow back up with Gavin's question as far as, innovation. What next steps, right? You're in over 1,000 doors now. We talked a little bit about your sales team, about your fundraising as far as adding some headcount to your team, but whether you look at 1 year, 2 year, 5 year plan, what are the next steps? And more importantly, at least from my perspective, and I'm curious about, is how do you innovate and stay true to your brand outside of, what you're currently doing?
Totally. Yeah. Great question, Gavin. It's a tough question to answer, just because I think depending on who I'm talking to, the answer kind of changes a bit. But like, I guess I'll be as honest as I can. I'll just be straight. I'm not going to do too much innovation outside of what we're doing right now, at least for the next 3 years or so. I wouldn't be doing the business a service if I did. And the reason why I say that is because I just think there's so much opportunity for us to be able to produce millions and millions and millions of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, that why deviate from that if I didn't need to? Ultimately, I just want to focus on the freezer door that I'm in and build out as much real estate there as I possibly can. And then from there, make decisions. We're only scratching the surface. We're in 1,000 doors at this point. We're selling 4 SKUs at retail. They're all doing really well. we still have to go into mass market. We still have to go into club. We haven't even touched schools or school districts. We haven't touched airports or any other type of like grab and go convenience channels. There's just a lot for us to be able to do with peanut butter and jelly sandwiches or almond butter jam sandwiches. But what I will say is that, and I don't know if you guys saw it, but I posted on LinkedIn this week. We did or even on social Instagram, we did a April Fool's campaign with Chomps. Obviously, they're the meat stick company, and we teased a Better For You Hot Pocket. And I mean, the response was amazing. Like
people thought it was real, right?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, our team crushed it. Like I have like a great like extension of my team that are like some marketers that we work with. And then obviously working with the Chomps team too. We turned that campaign around within 5 days, no joke. And it crushed and it looked incredibly real. But the sentiment from our consumers was amazing. It was out of this world. Everybody wanted it. And so what I'll say is that, if it ain't broke, don't, what is it? Well done.
Stored press, and that's next level summits.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, like grandiose plans. Yeah. Do I think we can compete in different spaces? Absolutely. I think with our name, it gives us leverage to be able to kind of create, sub brands underneath like our umbrella brand. And Hot Pocket could be one of them. Maybe Pop Tarts could be another. Toaster strudels. Like I don't know. The list goes on and on. But what I will say most definitely is that my focus is on PB&Js and different SKUs that fit within our patented cloud shaped sandwich. I think what's pretty cool too, what we did in the fall was we partnered with TBH, the Better For You Nutella, and we launched the chocolate hazelnut and peanut butter SKU, and we did that all direct to consumer, and that was a really cool opportunity for us to be able to test that platform as an opportunity to test innovation. And so the goal ultimately will be, if we were to launch new innovation products, would be to utilize our direct to consumer platform. Run an exclusive offering, sell it out as fast as we possibly can, and then use that data to make data-driven decisions at retail. And so there's a good chance you'll see that chocolate hazelnut PB&J in retail soon. And that's all based off of just us, promoting it through our direct-to-consumer channel and building hype around it that way.
Yeah, I think you've really, you're making a lot of smart decisions here. I mean, that's really all I want to say is like being really selective about what SKUs you're coming out with, not trying to innovate. Yep. And I almost said inundate, which is a Freudian slip, which is exactly what it is, inundating the retailers and the consumers. And I mean, you can build a $20-30 million business with what you have, in my opinion, which is about door count, getting in the right doors, velocity per store with something unique, with great branding and a great name. Then you also have your D2C stuff as well, plus the collaborations, which creates a lot of excitement, like Coconut Cult does as well, and other brands are starting to do. So I think that's probably one of the top 10 answers we've had on this podcast ever, which is
I appreciate that. Thank
you. Keep doing what we're doing, doubling, tripling down on our line. And we already have the goods. Why try to create something new?
I mean, like, why get over my skis if it just doesn't make any sense. I will say to you though that like the collaborations is actually a lot of fun, and it builds a lot of brand awareness. It helps build credibility around our brand as well, and also shows our ability to execute on ideas, which I think is the most important part of it. Because with the TBH one, we came up with that idea in July. And we fully executed that and delivered all products a week before Halloween, which was our goal. And the fact that we worked with another team and we did that still with our small team, we showed that to the public, and the public perception loved the product, but they also got to see like the way that we work as a team too. And I think that's like such a cool part of it, because I still don't think we saw the full repercussions of that. And then you see what we did with Chomps, and it's just like, I don't know, it's just very cool to like go back to my team and be like, look what we were able to do over the course of such a small period of time. And like made something look so professional. And we did that just through just working together and just like, executing on the ideas that we come up with. And so it's just a very cool, like internal team kind of celebration to be able to like have a team so focused on like coming together to create something and actually execute on it.
Yeah. We're going to have a Hot Pocket, near you. That's going to be on the shelf. It's a healthy, chubby snack version of it. So let's get into some comments. Then we're going to go into stuff we love. We're a little bit over time here, and then we're going to go into this week's sponsor, who is not coincidentally, Chubby Snacks. So let's get into some comments here just to make sure we shout everyone out. You're going to like this one, Wade. So Michael Bendos, this is from about 20 minutes ago. Just picturing Stone Cold bringing Chubby Snacks into an elementary school, smashing 2 PB&Js together, giving the lunch lady the Stone Cold Stunner. It's like a Liquid Death commercial. I could see that actually.
That's great.
I could see that happening. Hank Watt going into the backup plans for the backup plan. We should have a, co-packing, challenges and co-packing nightmares instead of kitchen nightmares. It goes on and on. It's just such a hard business. It's hard to work sometimes with co-packers until you find the right one. Then it's great. Michael Bendos, solutions over problems. My dad is an engineer too, and I always say be solution based, not problematic. And yeah,
100%.
Monica Watris, what do you do with the crust? Let's get back to that one. Don't give too much. Smuckers has this podcast bugged, and we'd be honored and offended at the same time if Smuckers was on here. Honored and offended. Amen, Alex. Thank you.
I don't think that's a collab in the making, but never say never.
Yeah, once they buy you, then they can do all they can put Smuckers in. Once they buy you for $400 million, and they're like, man, why do we try to sue this guy when we
should have nurtured us?
Yeah, should have nurtured, and they could have gotten you a lot earlier, right? But so maybe you probably wouldn't sell to them early. Gavin Conkle, okay, that was his question. Tom Bloomer, shout out. We're intercontinental now. International, right? International.
There you go.
So Mexico, happy Friday from Mexico. That's Tom Bloomer. A couple more, and then we're going to get into our next segment. Gavin Conkle, Mark is now defeated going into the weekend. That should be his post. It's like defeated vibes. Someone else is more buff. All right. He's
there you go.
He cheers people on. So I love the guy. Hell yeah, Italian. I knew I liked you. Michael Bendos. Stored Press already mentioned. And by the way, Next Level Summits is in the summer with Stored Press. So make sure to Google Next Level Summits. Stored, if you want to post the link, more than happy. I'll be a guest speaker there. I'll figure out what I'm talking about 3 minutes before I go up there. I treat that like I treat this show. And great partnership. And there we go. Wade beat me to it. Beat everyone to it. nextlevelsummits.com. Let's go to stuff we love here. And this is where we talk about stuff that we love. I'm going to swing it over to Wade and then Dillon, and then I'll go last.
I don't know if I showed these before, but I was scrambling a little bit because we were a little bit late getting on, and there was a lot of stuff. But regardless, I've got these guys. Have you had these?
Yep, you showed it a couple weeks ago.
I'm showing it again.
And it's really good.
I'm going to tell you why I'm showing it again. So I mentioned earlier that my sister-in-law and the family were here this week, and we broke out a lot of stuff, and I'm not going to bury anybody or anything like that. But of all the stuff we broke out, some of the samples we had laying around the house, it was my sister-in-law, her husband, our nephew, and one of his friends from they were in town for a baseball tournament in Myrtle Beach last weekend. And this particular item, they all were just raving about, and they had positive things to say about some of the other things we had here, but this one in particular, it was like, so I'm saying stuff we love, but it's stuff they loved. So that's what I got, because I'm running a little bit behind today. So Dillon, what do you have?
What is it called again?
Papadelics, crunchy mushroom chips. And I think there's 3 SKUs. This one that I have is the Trippin' Truffle Parm. But crunchy mushroom chips, dried shiitakes, got some organic ingredients, organic seasonings, organic sunflower oil. Good stuff.
Yeah, I'd say all the Deadheads, right? The Grateful Dead fans are
well,
going to be
and I think
over those.
One of the bigger things is you had 2 17, 18-year-old high school seniors that were into them. So I thought that spoke volumes as far as that goes. So
cross-generational.
Yep.
Sounds good. I got 2 products. I got to give a shout out to just for doing that collab with us last week. Pete gave us kind of that creative freedom to be able to run with his brand and create a really cool take on that classic Hot Pocket. So, and then Zoe, she hooked me up with like a bunch of chomps this week. So, been eating them like nonstop. And then my favorite protein shake, Koya, specifically the banana chocolate. This thing is killer. I have these like before or after my workouts. Mark, you could make a comment on that if you want. Probably doesn't help my arm. So
yeah, they were the first they were the first refrigerated, low sugar, high protein drink, and for that I give him a lot of credit. Chris Hunter, he is a grinder. He is a really hard worker, and they deserve their success for sure. So
absolutely.
So yeah, mine's I think Wade can already predict one of them because I mentioned their name is Coconut Colt. I got this at Sprouts today. There was one left. I haven't found it in a few Sprouts because it's been
I was gonna say, now I don't feel bad repeating something because you have mentioned Coconut Colt probably 8 times, but we love Ari and we love the brand. So what flavor do you have?
Yep, guilty as charged for sure. Harvest strawberry.
Nice.
So Sprouts, at least exclusive, I believe, because I haven't seen it in any other retailers yet, but I'm sure it's going to be deregulated, as they say, and put into Whole Foods. But I went into Sprouts. My local one was out. I went to the one on Artesia in North Redondo Beach. That was out. I know Dillon knows these areas. And then I went to the one on my sales trip in Laguna Niguel, all the way in Laguna Niguel. I'm like, if they don't have it here, I'm just going to give up. I'm going to give up. And they had one left, and I was feeling it, and I wanted it. It was $9.99, but you only need one scoop. You don't need to eat the whole thing, even though I do. So this is the Harvest Strawberry. The other ones that I want to point out, which are on sale right now at Whole Foods, are the Urban Remedy Sun Squares. Have you guys had these yet?
No, I never even heard of them.
I have.
Yeah. Did you get them? Did you have them at Expo, or was it at your local Whole Foods?
I believe I had them at Expo, if I'm not mistaken.
Cool. Yeah, these are made out of sunflower butter instead of like almond butter or peanut butter. So, and then there's the 2 flavors I have are crispy rice and cacao nibs. That's one. And the other one is sunflower butter cacao. I could crush these in 2 bites because they're small. They're $2.99 at Whole Foods, but they're on sale. Yeah, exactly. But these are a lot smaller. But they're on sale for $1.80 with Prime. So I'm like, okay, this is the time to load up on them because they're frozen. So that's my stuff we love, or more. I think stuff
I love. Right?
It's stuff I love, and for Wade, it's stuff they love, and for Dillon, it's stuff
he loves.
He loves.
Who knows? Yeah.
All right, that was freaking awesome. That was all improv. All right, love it. The next one is called Friday Freebies.
Friday Freebies.
All right, so as mentioned, our sponsor is none other than Chubby Snacks. So that should be like a dance, like Chubby Snacks, Chubby.
But while we pressure Dillon and we're pressuring him to think of a question, we do need to mention our ongoing sponsor. That's V-Driven, right? Luke Abbott and V-Driven. And V-Driven is a CPG partner for emerging purpose-driven brands. They fuel growth and innovation by providing strategies and support in every phase of the retail journey, from leadership coaching, brand management, accounting, sales strategy, day-to-day tactical support. They can be an end-to-end solution for a brand's business needs. Their leadership team, led by Luke Abbott, has decades of real-life experience in all the key areas of business and knows what it takes to help brands succeed. So I'll put Luke's information in the chat, and vdriven.com. That's V as in Victor.com. They're our ongoing sponsor, and we really appreciate that very much.
Cool. Well said. And there's nothing else I could say to top what you just said.
So now we got to pressure Dillon. So, Alex, you want to give him the rules or the rundown?
Sure. The rundown is you're going to come up with a question, something that one of us mentioned, or more specifically, you mentioned, that's a factoid or something that's not easy to answer, because we got to get our fans to really work for it to earn this. So Think of something pretty hard, but not impossible as a question. That's something that you mentioned in this episode, a fact, location, a number, someone's name, just anything you can think of.
All right.
And what are you giving away, by the way?
I mean, PB&Js. I think this is probably the easiest thing to give away.
That would make it so not Smuckers. You're not giving away Smuckers. So what's the what's the prize? How many? Is it a case? What's the value?
Yeah, I think I could give away like a case and then also a Chubby Snacks hat and T-shirt.
Nice.
Perfect. Value, priceless. Boom.
Help spread that brand awareness, you know.
Absolutely.
So the question would be related to my family. I think I definitely mentioned earlier, my mom's occupation. So if anybody remembers what my mom did when I was a kid, that's the winner.
Nice. So
there was actually there was like 2 jobs too. So either one of them counts.
So I was going to say, Dillon, the way this works is there's typically a little bit of a delay before people start replying and with answers. So obviously you're going to have to be the judge, Alex, unless you know the answer, then you can be the judge.
I do not, but there are answers already coming in. So what do you think, Dillon? Is that any of these right?
I'm not seeing anything yet. Oh, wait, should I have the event up? I haven't looked at any of the comments, to be completely honest.
Oh, okay. You can't see the comments on the right. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, and I was going to say, we might have to pull it up on, because I see one thing on the live feed and I see something else in the chat here. So, man.
Trainer, nutritionist, personal trainer. Nothing. This is not correct yet. Okay. All right. Well, until Dillon says the word that someone is correct.
I definitely saw something pop up on the screen.
Okay. Yeah, I'm kind of popping them up as they're coming in. So is it personal trainer? Is it trainer? Is it teacher? Is it trainer?
Yeah. Trainer. Personal trainer.
Personal trainer. Okay. So that's Monica Watrous. She was the first. There was some suspense there. That was good. That was good. So personal trainer, that's one of his mom's occupations. I had written down that he grew up in Bayonne. That was going to be if you drew a blank and you're like, oh shit, I'm on the spot, I can't think of a question, then I would be like, boom, where was he born? Boom. It's a clue.
I was actually born in Elizabeth, New Jersey. But I grew up in Bayonne.
But you grew up in Bayonne. Okay. Yeah, that's where Rainforest is. One of our.
It is actually. Yeah. They weren't there when I grew up there, though. They opened up that office like post me living in California.
Got it.
I was actually talking to Jimmy Seba the other day, and I brought that up. I just kind of small world kind of stuff.
Got it. Good stuff. And I'm just reading the comments here. I just want to make sure that because AM DeVito Anna, friend of mine, she said that she was first. I'm looking though at the order of business here. Monica Watrous definitely got it. She was the first personal trainer. Everyone's fighting over these PB&Js, man.
I know.
Yeah. All right. So if you like to claim your prize, go to not yet. We don't have a website yet. Email us at cpgvibes100, vibes plural, just like, well, it's on the screen. You guys know to spell it. 100, the number 100 at gmail.com, cpgvibes100 at gmail.com. And we'll connect you with Dillon and his team, and he will send out some delicious PB&Js and getting chubby with it. Right. There you go.
There we go. I don't think I've ever heard that one.
I'm making up so much shit, dude. You could like.
I mean, the dance you did before was pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie. I might have to steal that.
Yeah, dude. You know, this show is not copyrighted. You can take whatever you want. But you know, if you I'm like Robin yet.
I say right.
I'm like the Robin Williams of CPG. If you put me in a room, I'll be like, hey, you know, you do Chubby. Chubby can be big. The company's gonna be big. You know, I could just go on for like 3 hours and like you could record it. And you will have so many ideas that you'll be $100 million company overnight. Like,
I love that.
Genius consulting. All right, man. Well, the last thing we leave on is what we're doing on the weekend. So Dillon, as our guest of honor, what are you doing this weekend? And besides hanging out with Stone Cold at a brewery?
I wish. That would be absolutely epic. I'm eating bagels this weekend.
Eating bagels.
Yeah, my like passion project in the future is going to be like a bagel shop. Growing up outside New York City again, like I mean, we
Yeah.
got the best bagels in the world, and I love good breakfast sandwiches. So I'm meeting up with one of my friends to go to a bagel shop tomorrow morning. So
Cool.
and I obviously I told you guys, but I shattered my leg essentially like 3 weeks ago. So I'm kind of just like chilling in the house all weekend for the most part. So can't really do too much.
Yeah, and you have a great. We talked about it, before we went live. But his attitude and personality. Would you ever tell that he shattered his ankle, his leg, from the way that he's talking and his upbeat personality? No one would ever know.
Nope.
Nah, it's nothing to dwell on, honestly. I mean, like I told you guys, freak accident. It happens. I just got to look at things, optimistically and positive in order to be able to get through the recovery. So
Exactly. It'll make the recovery even faster too with that, positive
absolutely.
mindset. Yep. Wade, how about you?
Probably doing some work around the new place and laying low. It's been a pretty hectic week, so just some R&R.
Cool. For me, we have. I'm going to be in the Masters tournament on Saturday.
There we go.
The golf tournament. It's our own Masters, and there is a green jacket that's probably was purchased at, Dress for Less or Ross or one of the Ross, not Dress for Less, Ross, somewhere at a discount store. So my local group, the West Side Golf Collective, they're in Southern California. I'm currently in 3rd or 4th place in my flight, which is great. But I want to get that first spot. So the Masters is the most important tournament of the year. Mm-hmm. It's going to be at the beautiful Lakewood Country Club. It's a public course. And there's going to be 48 guys just showing up all at once, playing. A lot of guys are going to be drinking beer, vapes. I'm not one of those guys. I get really focused and I get really serious. I know I look like that kind of guy, but I'm not. Can you imagine like I have a cigar in my mouth and I'm like about to on the tee box or something? I'm about to drive.
Sounds like a good time.
Yeah. So I'm the 3rd or 4th group out, which is great. I get to go out in the morning, not in the afternoon. I play much better in the morning. Mm-hmm. And everyone wish me luck at this big tournament. If I win it, I basically could probably get ranked first in my group for the rest of the year. So it's an important one. Yeah, I've been training.
Good luck.
Thanks. I'm really good with everything except my 5-iron. That's the only one, which is hard. 5-iron's hard. All right. So before we get into too much golf talk, thank you everyone for tuning in to episode 63 of CPG Vibes. Again, if you'd like to, if you're not the winner and you'd like to go buy the product, make sure to go to chubbysnacks.co. And then what is your Instagram and TikTok?
Chubby Snacks, all one word, is for Instagram, and then Chubby_snacks for TikTok.
Damn. So someone took Chubby Snacks on TikTok?
Yeah, I can't get it. Between that and the .com, nobody wants to answer email. So I'll eventually get what I need to get. But until then, got to work with what we can get.
Yep, exactly right. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Wade, love you, brother.
Love you, buddy.
Another great show. Dillon, thanks for joining us. Make sure to join us next week. And I believe we may change the time. Okay, because I'm going to be traveling. We're going to let you know more about that in advance. So just make sure to watch our updates on LinkedIn. And everyone have a wonderful, safe weekend. And we will see you next week on Friday. Take care.
See you, Dillon.
Thanks again, guys. I really appreciate it.
Yep.
Absolutely. Thanks for being on.
Absolutely. Take care.